Good morning, students. Welcome to this online teaching platform of Divine Public School, Mohanapur, Gorakhpur. Dear students, once again I am back with the continuation of the chapter, the third level, written by Jack Finney from your textbook Vistas, subject English of class 12. Dear student, this is part second of the chapter, the third level. Let's have a recap of part 1 so that you can understand the chapter well. The story begins with the mention of a third level at the Grand Central Station, which only has two levels in real. The protagonist himself is aware that there is only two levels, but he himself has been to the third level. So Charlie, the protagonist, had a discussion with his psychiatrist friend. Sam, the friend who is a psychiatrist by profession, explained that as Charlie was not happy with his life, so he was experiencing a waking dream, and Charlie tends to escape from the harsh realities of life. Charlie starts exactly what happened and begins with how he chose to take the subway to his apartment instead of the unusual bus after a late night shift. He did this in order to save time. He describes himself as an ordinary man of 31 years old, dressed in a tan gabardine suit and a straw hat with a fancy band. He explains how he was in his normal state of mind, not wanting to escape from anywhere. All he wanted was to be with his wife, Lusa, at that hour. Charlie comes to the part of the incident where he entered the Grand Central from Vanderbilt Avenue and took the stairs to the first level where one boarded trains like the 20th century. Then he went down another floor to reach the second level from where the suburban trains leave. There were occasions he bumped into new corridors and doorways. Once he entered the wrong lobby and reached Roosevelt Hotel, and another time in an office building which was 3 blocks away. He wondered that Grand Central was expanding at a very fast rate, but just like a tree and with its roots. The unusual corridor he had entered into began angling left and slanting downwards, which he felt odd about, but nevertheless he kept on walking. There was no one except him, and the voice of his feet echoed. He finally heard the sound of people talking from a distance. Then he took a left and walked down the stairs again, only to reach the third level of the Grand Central. There were favored tickets windows and train gates, and the information booth in the center was made of wood and old looking. The man in the booth was also different, and the station was dim lit, for there were open flame gas lights. So, this was the recap of the part 1. Now, I am going to continue the chapter, the third level, part 2nd. First of all, I will read the paragraph for you all. There was a brass spittoons on the floor, and across the station, a glint of light caught my eye. A man was pulling a gold watch from his vest pocket. He snapped open the cover, glanced at his watch, and frowned. He wore a derby hat, a black 4-button suit with tiny lapels, and he had a big black handlebar mustache. Then I looked around and saw that everyone in the station was dressed like 1890 something. I never saw so many beards, sideburns, and fancy mistakes in my life. A woman walked in through the train grate. She wore a dress with a leg of mutton sleeves and skirts to the top of her high buttoned shoes. Back of her, out on the tracks, I caught a glimpse of a locomotive, a very small courier and Ives locomotive with a funnel shaped stack, and then I knew. Now, students, see the highlighted word in red colors. These are the difficult words in this paragraph. Let's have a look at the meaning of the difficult words. So, the first one is brass spittoons. So here, spittoons means a metal or earthenware pot typically having a funnel-shaped top used for spitting into. Then comes the second difficult word is glint, which means give out or reflect flashes of light. Third difficult word is snapped, break suddenly and completely. Then comes glanced, means take a brief or hurried look. Understood, students? Now, the fifth one is frowned, which means furrow one's brow in an expression indicating disapproval. Then comes the lapels, the part on each side of a coat or jacket immediately below the collar. Sideburns, a strip of hair grown by a man down each side of the face in front of his ears. Then comes locomotive, a powered railway vehicle used for pulling trains. And the last difficult word is stack, that means a pile of objects. Now, coming to the explanation part, students, I want you to be very attentive and listen very carefully. See the first line. Now, Charlie, after reaching to the third level, could see brass spittoons everywhere, when suddenly a glimpse of light caught his eye, and he saw a man pulling his gold watch from his vest. He was dressed in an old fashioned style. Suddenly, he noticed that everyone was dressed like the 19th century. It was basically the time before deadly wars. So many beards and fancy mustaches all around, something that the protagonist had never seen before. He even saw a small, very small courier and Ives locomotive, which made him sure about which time he is in. Now, to validate his suspicion, he went over to the newspaper boy who was selling the World. That means the name of the newspaper, a newspaper which was discontinued years ago. There were some headlines about, and then President Cleveland. The date on the front page was also June 11, 1894. He was now sure. Now, to make sure, I walked over a newsboy and glanced at the stack of papers at his feet. It was The World. And The World has not been published for the years. The lead story said something about President Cleveland. I have found that front page since in the public library files, and it was printed June 11, 1894. I turned toward the ticket windows, knowing that here on the third level at Grand Central, I could buy tickets that would take Lusa and me anywhere in the United States we wanted to go. In the year 1894, and I wanted 2 tickets to Galesburg, Illinois. Have you ever been there? It's a wonderful town still with big old frame houses, huge lawns, and tremendous trees whose branches meet overhead and roof the streets. And in 1894, summer evenings are twice as long, and people sat out on their lawns, the men smoking cigars and talking quietly, the women wearing palm leaves fans, with the fireflies all around, in a peaceful world. To be back there with the First World War still 20 years off and World War II over 40 years in the future. I wanted 2 tickets for that. Now see the first line, students. Now, to confirm his suspicion, he went over to the newspaper boy who was selling the newspaper, The World, which was discontinued years ago. There were some headlines about the president of that time, and the name of the president was Cleveland. The date on the front page was also June 11, 1894. He was now sure that he has come into the past days. That means he has gone in the back years, and the date was June 11, 1894 on the newspaper. Immediately he went to the ticket window to get the tickets for Galesburg, Illinois for him and his wife. It was a wonderful town with a lot of greenery. He was well aware that from here one could buy tickets that would take them anywhere in the United States. he describes how things were in 1894 before the two world wars took place. Evenings were twice as long as they are now, and men and women living in peace and serenity. Clear, students? Now, moving to the next slide. The clerk figured the fare as he glanced at my fancy headband, but he figured the fare and I had enough for two coach tickets, one way. But when I counted out the money, I looked up. The clerk was staring at me. He nodded at the bills. That isn't money, mister, he said. And if you are trying to skin me, you won't get very far. And he glanced at the cash drawer beside him. Of course, the money was old style bills, half again as big as the money we use nowadays, and different looking. I turned away and got out fast. There is nothing nice about jail, even in 1894. And that was that. I left the same way I came, I suppose. Next day, during lunch hour, I drew $300 old style bank, nearly all we had, and bought old style currency. You can buy old money at almost any coin dealer, but you have to pay a premium. My $300 bought less than 200 old style bills, but I did not care eggs with 13 cents a dozen in 1894. Now see the difficult words here, students. The first one is fare. That means the money paid for a journey. Then comes the nodded. Nodded means lower and raise one's head slightly and briefly. The third difficult word is drawer, means a box shaped storage compartment without a lid. Then comes currency, a system of money in general used in a country. And the last difficult word is premium, an amount to be paid for a contract of insurance. Clear, students? Now, as the clerk calculated the fare, he looked at Charlie. Fancy headband. Charlie just had enough for one-sided journey. Just as he took out money, the clerk informed that this is not the acceptable legal tender, and by any chance, if he tried to be smart, he won't be able to get away with it. He glanced at his cash drawer and realized that currency used back then was different and almost double the size. He ran out because he didn't want to go to jail. The day ended after he came out. The next day, he went to withdraw his entire savings and got them converted into old money by paying some amount of premium. It cost him much and even worried his psychiatrist friend, but he still went with it. Back then, eggs cost 13 cents a dozen. But I have never again found the corridor that leads to third level at Grand Central Station. Although I have tried often enough, Lusa was pretty worried when I told her all this and didn't want me to look for the third level anymore. And after a while, I stopped. I went back to my stamps. But now we were both looking every weekend because now we have proof that the third level is still there. My friend Sam Vinier disappeared. Nobody knew where, but I sort of suspected because Sam was a city boy and I used to tell him about Galesburg and I went to school there and he always said he liked the sound of the place. And that is where he is, all right, in 1894. Now, students, but unfortunately, he could never find the way to the third level corridor again, despite hard efforts. His wife Lusa was pretty worried when she got to know about it all. After a while, he went back to finding distractions with the help of stamps. Somehow, Sam, the psychiatrist, disappeared out of the scene. Charlie suspected that he had gone to Galesburg. He finds himself in the time space of 1894. Clear, students? I hope you have understood the explanation. Once again, I will be back to continue the chapter, the third level, in my next video. That will be part third. So to be continued in part third. Thank you students for watching and listening this video.